Well, welcome to Paranormally Blonde. You're here live with us Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the X, the new mainstream. We've had some pretty cool shows here just being new on the X, I have to say.
Yeah.
We had Dr. Sumner and then Mike Ricksecker, and we got to premiere your amazing shadow video.
Yeah.
That was so cool. And
Yeah.
everybody go check Facebook out because guess what? She got picked up on like top 5 fear stuff or fear. Well, it's like
Fearsome top 5. Fearsome's top 5. Yeah.
Okay,
And they did my Queen Mary
so
shadow
cool.
figure.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
they did put it together really nicely.
Yeah, they did. I love
Yeah, it was a really cool thing. So look at Dee Dee's a superstar.
it.
That's so awesome. So we were talking about how we kind of like our questions, like just to kind of get things going. I got this cool deck of cards and it's called Pod Decks. Super random questions. So
Okay.
let's just like pull one from the deck. I'll just shuffle a little bit here. Just to kind of get the show kicked off before we have our amazing guest on talking Bigfoot with Mr. James Lady, the hat guy.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna pick. I'm not gonna look here. I don't even know what I'm picking. Okay, so ready?
Okay.
Oh no, well, this isn't a very good one. I don't think I should ask that.
Okay. You have to tell me later.
I mean, have you ever gotten a DUI? That seems awfully personal. I don't know if we want to be admitting that stuff on air right now.
I have not, but yeah, that's not good.
Okay, let's just go with this one. These questions are crazy. I've not really gone through this deck. So here's your random question. Ready? So last week it was just a simple happy spring. What's your favorite thing? What is your favorite thing about the gender that you're attracted to?
Okay.
Let's just
wow, that's like blindsiding me. Okay, my favorite thing would be their strength.
Yeah. And you know, I like that toxicity, so we know that. I like my men toxic, so you know, like that's why I dig Bigfoot, right? That question kind of is perfect because I always say that about Bigfoot. He's a real dude. Right? He's a real dude. So tonight we're gonna get into some cryptids and I'm super excited because James is local in my community and I love it because how did I find him? Oh, on the dad swap. I was scrolling and I saw, like, honestly, I just was kind of doing the mindless scroll. And this picture of Bigfoot, like a sticker, caught my eye. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's a sticker. I got to have that. Right. And then I start reading and I'm like, this guy's like right in my neighborhood and he does Bigfoot research.
Awesome.
So yeah. So how it can't get much better than that. So let's welcome our guest, Mr. James Lady, to the show. Hey, James.
Hey, ladies. How are you?
Good.
You got me chuckling about that whole introduction. And it was good. Thank you. I'm really kind of sorry it had to end. Can you,
That's right.
can you excuse me and carry on?
Well, James, let's ask you that question. What is your favorite thing of the gender you're attracted to?
I only know one gender. It's my wife. And she is, what's the most attractive thing about her? I don't know.
Uh-oh.
She's freakishly happy and positive. I call it a birth defect. She's an amazing creation, one of God's, and she was an answer to a prayer. So I think that.
I love that.
Look at that. That's marked.
Prayer. That's got to be my favorite thing.
It is marked right on the show. Now you are saved. You will not be in trouble.
So. I've had my days of doubt and denial. I've done a 180 from that. So
awesome.
Formerly atheist here. So
well, let's kind of talk about here. So here I found you on Dad Swap, which I think is cool and kind of odd, right? Like I had your sticker, which I bought 2. I got one for now I feel bad. I didn't buy one for my other sister, but I'm gonna go to the local store. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the local store.
Everybody watching is gonna run out and buy something.
Yeah. And you've got great sweatshirts and t-shirts, which that is my next purchase.
Oh, right on. Thank you.
So you were on the Dad Swap, you had your project, which is the Michigan Aboriginal Project.
Yeah, that just came about. That sort of evolved from the old channel name, which was Michigan Sasquatch. But I've learned so much about this species that I had to. Sasquatch seems a little disrespectful. So they are an aboriginal species of human, um, uh, and it's fascinating, and they're giants. It's like a civilization of giants living right on the outskirts of our,
Yeah.
when our footprint ends, theirs begins. And very often our habitats overlap, and it's amazing. It's an amazing thing.
Do you mean like interdimensionally or physically?
I don't know about the interdimensional thing. I haven't really experienced that, although I've recorded some audio that might have you question the reality of that. Some really, really weird stuff.
Yeah.
So who am I to say? I know that the theory of portals and such exists, and I'm wholly aware that there are more dimensions that are around us all the time. We're just not tapped into them. We all vibrate at a certain frequency, right? This is what I'm no expert at all, but I never thought that I'd be selling Bigfoot stickers when I grew up, and that all started with the boyhood desire to just see a Bigfoot, and I found out by my own wits and reckoning that they do exist, and where I was going in northern Michigan for years, for most of my life, I realized that was the primary habitat. And I would likely, if I took my eyes off the river into the woods, I'd likely come across one. I just wanted to see one one day, and now I want a dialogue. That's where I am now. That's an ultimate goal of mine to actually, because they have spoken outside, and I recorded this. And for the audience, you'd think I'd crazy. I would fully expect you to throw me into the loony bin if I didn't have the audio evidence to support everything that I'm saying, and the video documentary, of my journey, which is the YouTube channel, Michigan Aboriginal Project.
Well, I don't know that anybody can really claim anybody's crazy here. We're all kind of under this big umbrella of paranormal, and we, everybody has their sort of niche that they like a little more than others. But I find it, the more we discuss this with each person with cryptids, it is so interesting to me because, I deal, and I think Dee Dee, we're pretty much the same, although you are interested in the UFO aspect, but we pretty much deal in ghost spirits, energy. And there's so much, there's a general consensus, but there's so much debate around it. But there's a lot of debate around Bigfoot, I think. Cryptids really in general, but really Bigfoot, kind of who he is, where he comes from, how he started. I don't know that I really have found, we've had maybe 3 conversations now, Dee Dee, with this, and I feel like they're all a little different, right?
As they should be, because our individual experiences are unique. Mine beyond my imagination.
Michael says, do you think Bigfoot could implement infrasound frequencies to open portals?
My take on infrasound, and I've documented a lot of it, is that it's a normal part of their vocal dynamic, if you will. I believe they speak and communicate in different vocal modalities, which I've also been able to document. I need to be on this end of the camera more often to explain a lot of my videos. I'm kind of working backwards, just throwing my evidence out there and not really making any claims. But as I go along, you drip a little bit of revelation here or there on the reality of these vocal modalities and the species existence. It's a very complicated thing, and that's and we all bring something different to the table. There is a lot of controversy and bickering in the community, and I really can't stand that. I'm kind of a loner. I was raised with 3 sisters, and every chance I got to run down to the creek, I took. Spent a lot of time alone as a kid, which is not a bad thing. I'm not complaining. I love my sisters, but I'm kind of a loner, and I like to maintain that sort of profile within the community. I do speak on the subject every once in a while, but I'm not out there on the various sites all the time because it drives you nuts. I've really kind of backed away, but I've gone through those stages. I've been involved in a little debate, and it's really worthless. It's not worth anybody's time because it's people spinning their wheels. And every once in a while, though, someone brings something unique to the table.
Mhm.
And this journey has been really an answer to a prayer for me. Since I found out that they were real, I just wanted to see one. I've prayed on this whole journey throughout, and it hasn't been easy. It's there is a cost.
Mhm.
There's a cost in relationships and social ostracization, if you will. That's a tough one.
Say that again.
Yeah, exactly. I need to wet my palate here. Yeah.
Well, okay, so
Well, there are all these social dynamics and dynamics at play that you really. Where was I going with that? I should tell your audience I'm thoroughly ADD, and if once I get off track, you're going to have to help me, circle
it's
back
all
and come
good.
around.
Well,
So,
believe me,
uh,
our viewers are amazing with keeping us on task here with their questions, and that was an excellent
good.
question,
Yes, it
Michael.
is. And Mike, I don't know about the portals. I really don't.
Yeah.
I know that even historically, people have Davy Crockett before he perished at the Alamo wrote his brother-in-law Abner that he had this encounter with a spirit-like thing that kind of looked like an ape man, and then
Huh.
it disappeared in like the wisps of the fog off a frog pond,
Mhm.
and he documented it in his own. He's a Christian man, an honest man, and so people have really interesting observations when they've had these encounters. I have as well, but I don't know anything about the portals, nor having them disappear, before my eyes. Haven't had that experience,
Wow.
so it
I
could be. I don't know.
But I would almost think if you are sort of studying them in the sense of, right, where their footprint ends, ours begin, or vice versa, you know, you're talking more about something that's tangible and right here with
Yeah,
us that have
yeah,
been here since the beginning of time. Is that
yes,
sort of
absolutely.
the route you're going?
Their universe are the rivers and streams systems, as
Mhm.
well as drainage ditches. I
Hmm.
have a lot of theories about they may live under our cities in the storm drains. Um,
Oh.
in some cases, uh, Mount Clemens.
Mhm.
Um, I've seen some evidence of that, so
Oh
it's very
my.
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and you would never know. They're just really good at hiding. I've documented vocalizations and footprints of a juvenile in Southfield.
Oh wow.
Yeah, well, I once had a conversation with Cliff Barrickman. He was one of the co-hosts of the Finding Bigfoot show, and I was driving him to the airport, and he shared with me that if the season had gone on to 9 or 10 or whatever, it would have been, they were going to do an urban Sasquatch series, and Detroit was their number one pick.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Urban sightings in all around Ann Arbor,
Okay.
sightings in the Hines Park area.
Mhm.
Like I said, I believe it's the Rouge River that runs through there. So they're up and down, and you can find evidence of their having been there.
Mhm.
I don't know
Hmm.
where to go and show you a Sasquatch right now, but I can go take you to an area where you're likely to have an encounter should you choose to spend enough time there. And I do that. So I go to their likely habitats twice a year solo. I bug structures that I find in the woods and get amazing vocalizations like Kapika Swa and Autikapika Hut and FFFim, SFatif, um, all sorts of amazing things, even things that sound English like helicopters. It's
Mhm.
twice in that one night of October 23rd in the new structure. You have a vocalizations twice as helicopters. One says
Huh.
helicopters, it kind of is broken off at the beginning, and one that says "Come with me." And during my encounter, which is also recorded, they do speak words that sound exactly like English.
Mhm.
Whether they are or not, it could be sort of auditory pareidolia. You know what that is, and we don't even
Mhm.
have to get into
Yeah.
it. I'm sure your audience does as well, but it's not that, because the recorded expressions have prosody, and which are essentially the components in the rhythm and the very nature of uh, multisyllabic well enunciated expressions. That's pretty much it. I mean, these are sentences. This is something with lips deep in the woods speaking a language, and it can be really beautiful. I've heard them chant, and it's a beautiful thing.
I listened to that recording with all the chanting, and like I always end up lately been going to aliens, and when I was listening to the one that you just posted like a couple of days ago, and it's really that one, and
the tribal.
Yes, it sounded like language I've never heard, and it just gave me a weird feeling. It felt very something about it was like, and I'm like, right away I went to aliens. But
and they could be. I don't know.
A question.
That's a thought.
She says, I subscribe to My Bigfoot Sighting is very interesting. No host, just everyday people telling their experiences. Have you shared on that show? And she wants to hear some of your encounters.
Oh, right on. Okay. No, I don't think I do subscribe to My Bigfoot Sighting. Maybe I should. I listen to what my dailies are. How to Hunt. Or what is it? The Facts by How to Hunt. A fellow by the name of Steve Isdall on YouTube reads viewers' stories. People share their experiences, insights, a lot of other things. And what's the other one? Oh, Sasquatch Chronicles. Also Dixie Cryptid. If you just love a good story, he has such dulcet tones, and he tells a great story with a southern drawl, and he's a really cool guy. He actually interviewed me on his interview number 26 called The Terrifying Voice of Sasquatch or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. And you've heard, I think I sent you 2 audio clips from the same night.
I believe they were. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to go ahead? Do you want us to play those?
You want
to set it up?
Do that. You can. Well, no, you can go for it.
Are you sure? Do you want to? Okay. Do you want to do the video first?
Yeah, do the video first, and we can talk about encounters. And for the audience sake, the recordings that I think I sent to you I was not around. I was not present when these vocalizations were, but I was around shortly before the angry sounding one. I had just left, and eyes were on me that time. I could feel it, and I can share that story after we get back to the audio.
Let's see if we can get the video to.
There we are. You don't have to show
the amplified vocal is very. It's eerie.
Yeah, it's scary. It's like you hear that outside your tent, because there are creations out there that speak just like that.
Okay, but so before you go into your encounter, though, I have to ask. So you're interested in Bigfoot, but what if, I mean, have you ever wondered if it's a shapeshifter or a skinwalker? I mean, because now you're talking about the Upper Peninsula, and that's a very Native American. So does that ever cross your mind? Like, do you just go with the Bigfoot thing? Because that sounded pretty creepy. I don't know if I'd go Bigfoot or
Yeah, no, it's terrifying. Well, what I do, it wasn't a wallow, and I time and again I record structures. They build things like wigwams, teepees,
Mhm.
and sometimes they are in high concentration. As for instance, in Southfield, there is a high concentration in a greenway off the Rouge River into a forest preserve. It's beautiful, and it's a peaceful place. So yeah, that's. It's definitely Bigfoot. There have been others. Ron Moorhead, who is known for the Sierra Sounds. Um,
Ray says he was going to go camping this
he
weekend.
was
I will
no
not.
longer.
And then also,
Yeah.
Get Haunted
Oh,
Network
I love
said,
that.
my dog just had a wild reaction to that audio.
Yeah, his is not the only one. I've seen my little Chihuahua actually cower and shake beyond normal, Chihuahua
Oh.
shakes. It was
Wow.
crazy. She couldn't get far enough away from the speaker. Yeah, it's wild stuff. And yeah, it is Bigfoot. But Ron Moorhead, I'm speaking in the same panel, the speakers lineup in a September conference in Dowagiac, Michigan, called I think it's bigfootandbrews.com conference, something like that. It's at Sister Lakes Brewing Company on September 10th. Should be a lot of fun. But Ron Moorhead got the Sierra Sounds. He's got a lot of theory on the quantum nature and the portal, aspects of these. And he is one that also believes we are energy. And I'm sure you guys are tuned into that as well. We are, truly. And our mind is an interesting thing. I often wonder if we live in the Matrix,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, those are Sasquatch, but Sasquatch don't always speak in angry, tones like those expressions I shared earlier. The Altika Pika Hut and Kapika Aswa and FFFim, SFAtif. It's fascinating. I never thought I'd be speaking Sasquatch.
Okay,
Ever.
so
What does that mean?
yeah, I was gonna say, so I'm
I
not,
have no idea. I have
you
no
know,
idea. The expressions that sound English, of course, if there is a direct translation, during my encounter, you hear one with a very gremlinish voice saying, "Are you wreaking havoc?" And then a minute or so later, I don't know exactly how long, but later, um, you hear havoc, hate this man tomorrow. Same voice, same gremlinish,
Mhm.
which is weird and scary, though, depending on how you interpret that. And maybe it's a code to live by. Let go of your anger today, leave it for tomorrow. It might be great wisdom being spoken. I don't know. But I know they didn't molest me other than vocally that night, and it was one of the most terrifying moments of my life. And you had a viewer. I could talk about that night. I went up to my favorite valley. It was late October, October 21st, a Monday, and I had changed my regular routine of 4 nights in the woods going solo, which would have been later in the week, but a friend's mother had passed, so I altered my schedule, shortened the trip. Just spent 3 nights there, and the first night after I got set up around 8 o'clock, I heard this "Achichi Chuha" from the river, and it really kind of startled me. And it was a sudden realization that, okay, I'm not alone. Someone's out here, was my first thought. And then I'm thinking, no, that was way too loud. I mean, it was a really
Mhm.
voluminous voice, high fidelity. You can detect it and hear some of it on the recording. But being there in person was really amazing. Some weird, wild stuff happened after that. I heard this somewhat of an explosion, or it sounded like a dumpster being dropped onto a concrete slab from a few feet up. I mean, an empty dumpster. It was really loud, and I felt the impact of that sonic wave. It was just boom, and you can hear that. You can hear Heji Lawa and the Rabagao and all sorts of weird things that really get your skin crawling. And was that from another realm? I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think so. I that big explosion, and I'm kind of wondering. Part of me thinks that whole experience was their way of greeting me, and I did nothing. I didn't respond. I sat in my chair and I sat in the dome of my light and chose to, that was the path of least resistance, but I didn't respond. And even before then, I knew I wanted to engage in dialogues if that were possible someday. That was my opportunity, and I was terrified. I honestly thought those were going to be my last moments, and it was just a really amazing thing. And most of what you hear on that 10-minute audio that I shared on the channel, I didn't hear. You'll hear a lot of melodic clicking and clucking and such. At times I could sense something weird in the air, and I actually comment during the video. I'm sensing percussions in the wind, if you will.
Mhm.
I was developing a theory anyway that they had this ability to speak within the general din of the woods, whether it be the wind or the rain. They could speak
Mhm.
within it without our detecting that. And one viewer's comments talked about infrasound. They do have an ability to speak on an infrasonic level, and I've documented that. And it's interesting on the spectrogram. The infrasound is represented by an intense yellowing at the lower hertz range, and there's a concomitant darkening of the general. I don't know what it would be. Anyway, the darkening of the spectrogram above these yellow spots with the corresponding amplification on the spectrograph. So you see a lot of noise up here.
Mhm.
And I've got a theory about that, but that may be for another time. It gets pretty far out there, ladies.
Well, okay,
And I
so
never thought I'd be.
you said you felt like the percussions in the wind. Do you also feel, because a lot of times when you're doing paranormal investigations, sometimes you'll feel pressure, maybe your ears will pop if
Oh,
there's a presence. Do you get any sensation?
well, yes. Right after the boom
Mhm.
and the Hejila or the Ochichichua, there was a moment when I had this raspy static on my eardrums, and it was really intense. It was really very uncomfortable, and I was like, this can't last very long. I hope it doesn't last very long.
Mhm.
And when I'm saying, I think what was that in the audio during the encounter, um, that's around that time, and it corresponds with other static, but it is one of their vocal modalities. They can manipulate sound. It's rumored that they have more than one set of vocal cords, and I have to believe that's true based on their abilities
Mhm.
to speak within or in a range that is undetectable to us, because our abilities are harmonized with a different
Mhm.
vibration.
So you had that video, and I swear I saw somebody by the tree, right? Or something by the tree. Did
Yeah,
you?
there was a subject in the background.
Yeah.
That was after my first encounter at this campsite where I had the other encounter where we were just talking about the audio and such. I did record audio that night, but I wasn't aware of it for a couple years later. But I was going to bed. It was 9:30, quarter to 10, something like that. And I went to the side of the camp to spit my toothpaste. And I had this red headlamp on, and I look up, and I'm looking at these really wide set eyes,
Mhm.
huge.
Mhm.
I mean, they're just really big eyes, um, huge, probably that big around the side,
Oh, wow.
top of my speaker. I mean, it's like the bottom of a Coke bottle or something like that, but big. And they were the color was like I don't know, really that pale yellow, light greenish. It was just bright.
Mhm.
Um, And so I stopped. I locked eyes, and I know I'm looking at something with eye shine, and it was within a minute. I'm pretty sure that I was having a Sasquatch encounter. It was just a simple stare down.
Mhm.
And it was peaceful. There was no. I, I didn't sense any danger. I didn't experience any fear. Not like the encounter night. That was terrifying. The vocal encounter night. It was just peaceful. So anyway, we had this long stare down. I knew if I had taken my eyes away, that I would lose the moment. It would be
Mhm.
gone. And people report that. So I've listened. I've listened to well over 1,000 um, eyewitness testimonies. A lot of podcasts out there, and it's fun. It takes it keeps you sane in an otherwise insane time in our lives with all that's going on, which is practically biblical when you think about it. So where was I going with that? The recording. I picked up some vocals that night on that audio, but that video capture was captured after that encounter. I turned away. I got my very nonchalantly set my toothbrush down and grabbed my camera and flashlight, and then that 6 seconds clip that I share there is part of like a 8.5 9 minute long clip. That's how long I had that going, trying to get something. But in that capture was that visage, if you will, not visage, the apparition. It's moving. I caught it initially. The camera caught it with light on its backside, and you see it pivot from its right to the left as the shadow of the tree to its left was moving. It's like trying to keep in the shadow. That's my thinking on that anyway. But you can clearly see. Some people have to look at it a little bit. It's not the best footage. It's blurry. That's how you know it's real. Right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So, but it's keep in mind it's a much smaller part of a larger capture. So that's the magnification. But you can detect. Light tells a story, and especially when you have movement, you can detect. The left hand casting the light on the buttocks. When it's 3/4 through its turn. In that capture, I think it was only like 0.6 of a second, if that. Yeah. So that's what I'm reviewing there. But it was there. It was right after that encounter. I don't know if I was staring down that subject that was caught on video or another. The others, to me, seemed much bigger, but I'm a fisherman. All the fish are bigger.
So then there's a good question too. So if you see one or you feel there's one in the area, is there always many more? Do they do things in groups?
That's the popular thinking. They're not alone. Although some people speculate there are some rogue males out there. What young buck, Sasquatch wants to stay in the same valley all his life. I'm sure he's going to go off and,
Explore.
hunt some, when the springtime comes, the young man's mind turns to other things. It's like, I'm done with this valley. So there might be some rogue, Sasquatch males out there, but I would have to think, they are a civilization of giants that live along, and they're not, I can't even say if they're as numerous as us or not. Nobody knows. But wherever I go, I mean, you can look if you have some tactical understanding about terrain. Look at understanding choke points and plateaus and military crests and things of this nature. You can track these things if you know the sign. And anybody listening now can do what I've done. It's not hard. It is a passion. Because I grew up in Tarzan and X-Files, and the Planet of the Apes, and this is like a real life Planet of the Apes. So I'm fascinated by this, and you can go to the next suburb over and detect and go look for sign, the wigwams, teepees, etc.
So you said there's research being done on urban Sasquatch. So is that a common? I mean, obviously it's common enough that they were picking an urban area to do this, but you're the first person I've ever heard. And I, admittedly don't listen to hundreds of hours of cryptid stuff, but the people we have spoken to or the posts that I see, I've never once heard that.
Yeah, me either.
Well, it does exist there. If you research Detroit Sasquatch or Bigfoot sighting, you can dig something up. It's not that hard. There have been sightings and I believe skeletal remains found in the Hines Park area.
Okay.
There was a dead body reported some time ago, and it said it didn't classify it as human at first. They changed that, but who knows what powers that be, have influence over those reports and such. But it's not unusual throughout our history, even our modern history, that giant skeletal remains have been uncovered throughout North America.
Like how giant?
That is a fact. 7, 8 feet, 9 feet. Look at the Lovelock Cave Do you know about Lovelock Cave?
Mm-mm.
No.
Some guano farmers who were in there and excavating, and they came across a lot of giant skeletons.
Oh.
There were, but I don't know if they were these Sasquatch that that we are keen on. They could be Nephilim, the byproduct of something else.
Mhm.
So the sons of God, daughters of men, that kind of stuff. There's a lot. Speaking of the Bible, there's a ton of narrative in the Bible. I mean, a lot regarding these ancient people. And I've got audio evidence. If I sent you a 57-second audio clip, I think I did. Um, there is a buzzing and humming going on, and Deuteronomy 2nd chapter verse 20 speaks of a people of great numerous and of great stature called the Zamzumim, and they got their name from the ancient Hebrew word Zuzim or Zimzum or something. I don't know. Zuzim, I think. Oops, excuse me. And that means to buzz or hum. So, and I have audio evidence in that, like that resonance that I could sometimes detect during my encounter. That, that was them communicating. It was just me sensing something different in the air. The energy changes. It's
Yeah.
weird.
So
I
do
agree
you,
with that.
yeah, and do you think kind of, how Mike Ricksecker was talking about shadow people and how everybody vibrates at a different, and you touched on that as well in the beginning, that we all vibrate different. And so do you think in order to have these Bigfoot encounters or experiences that you have to vibrate at the appropriate, you know,
I don't know. I think my situation. I don't know because I've seemed to have been somewhat of a magnet when I go when I go out of the woods, and that's a little disturbing because once I was with my daughters and we had encountered three subjects, and it was that was scary. It was the first time I'd ever seen red eyes in the woods, and uh, the third subject that revealed its one eye. I saw the silhouette of leaves moving to reveal that eye. So I'm in the woods and the leaves aren't that small, and it's like these things are just monstrous. That was terrifying. But the primary subject that I initially locked eyes with um, eventually very slowly moved to the left and then to the right, almost imperceptibly. It was so slow. And I believe this is hindsight. I think it was just telling me to go. I was with my daughters, and one of their friends. So here I am, and with all my kit, right? I had my FLIR, I had my night vision camera, I had all this stuff, and I didn't even think of using them. I
Oh,
didn't.
we
It
never
was
do we?
terrifying. That was like, yeah, this is happening. This is real, and
Yeah,
you really you don't want to take if it is a predator, if they are predatory in nature, which I think they are, but with discretion. Um, you don't want to back down and run. You don't want to cower. You got to
right,
face your adversary, right?
right,
And,
right.
and uh,
here's a comment. Trav Martin says, I believe that when you are ready, you will see it. I
yeah,
kind of
perhaps.
subscribe to that too.
Yeah, it is a daunting prospect, but the little boy in me, I really wanted to see one, and that's really how I got started on this journey. I
Yeah.
never thought it possible. I talked about the stress earlier about on relationships. My wife during our engagement, she thought about letting me go.
Aw.
Uh, yeah, uh, and I told her that would be unfortunate, but she's gotten a sense of humor about the whole thing. God bless her. Uh, yeah, but
Does she go with you?
no, camping's not her thing. And I was going camping alone anyway. As a boy, you look into the psychology of a man named Lady, uh, the loner. Uh, I need to get out in the woods and just reconnect with the nature, just be a kid again, and yeah, find the peace because the world's a maddening place. I get my
Yeah.
peace in the woods. I get with the homes. I mean, I have a really good life and an outstanding wife, and but you got to get away every once in a while.
Yeah, maybe that's why, because you're out there trying to connect with nature and it's
Mhm.
answering you because it knows that your intentions are, good. And so
Well,
it's answering you.
I do believe that these the Sasquatch of this area know me, and I believe they, I was carrying my 357 that was in my holster during my last vocal encounter, and prior to the encounter, you do hear one vocalize. It sounds like Alberta gunfire, and it's weird, but you hear that Alberta gunfire, and it sounds like, to me, that's like, how about the gunfire? What
Yeah.
about the gun? It's like, are you sure you want to do this? Anyway, and that was a different subject than the one that did the Achichichuha. So, and there were multiple subjects there, and I didn't know that for like some months, a month afterwards, and I was messed up pretty much for a month. I can't come home from a trip like that, have an
Yeah.
experience like that I wanted to experience, but really kind of
Yeah.
left wondering why I wanted to have that
Mhm.
experience. But I can't talk to Maggie about it because she doesn't really care for the subject. So it was bottled up, and this isn't a subject you just bring up with anybody.
Right.
It's
Well, James,
I,
yeah, it is. Now you
I
just say,
agree with you, Sarah.
now you're like, listen, Starbucks, the corner,
That's right.
9 a.m.
Tuesdays at the Old Pony, I'm hanging out, and
There you go.
the acquaintances around me know me as the Sasquatch guy with the
Yeah.
hat.
And I happen to like Old Pony burgers, so we're
They
good.
are good burgers. Right on. Okay, anytime.
I'll meet you
Anytime.
next time. I wanted to touch really quickly on this story because I wanted to get your opinion on it. So this is a text, Jenny. I hope you don't mind that I already asked her if I could read the story. I hope you don't mind that I'm adding your
Go
name
for
to it. So, and they are watching tonight, Lindsay and Jenny. And so she shared this story, and I thought it was really interesting. And I've not had, to my knowledge, any Bigfoot experience. I don't think. If I have, I'm sure I rationalized it right away because maybe I didn't want to, right?
Yeah,
She said this story happened about a month ago. She said I needed to go to the hardware store in the little town of the Paw. As I parked, I noticed two men talking on the sidewalk. As I was walking into the store, one of the men that were talking approached me to tell me about the other man had just told him. He said that he had been driving back to the Paw from the south and was about a little over an hour away. He saw this very dark shape ahead in the ditch area. Being up north, seeing moose is a regular thing, and that is what he assumed it was, and therefore didn't get his phone ready for a picture. Right? We're not going to grab our FLIRs.
No.
We're going to say to hell with it, right? As he got closer, the mass split into two separate beings, and they stood upright and walked away like a very furry human. She says she also has a coworker that witnessed the same type of thing in their area of the north. So, seeing one black mass, do you think that that kind of creeped me out when she sent it. I was like, to see something big, and then were they just huddled together and then parted, or was it something that then split into two separate? I don't
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I don't know. See, I don't know everything. But to have that sort of energy for a duplication right there, I don't know. They're probably in line. That's my thinking on that.
Mhm.
But they probably saw Sasquatch.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that they saw that. I don't talk about this because I can't prove it. But early in that clip, where I capture that subject in the background, I think there might be a younger subject with it because there's a bleeding between the tree and the subject that
Mhm.
seems abnormal, and I'm thinking maybe there might be a greater juvenile with that subject that they're moving and dodging together. Um, I don't know. Sasquatch like to count coup. Are you familiar with that? Counting coup is indigenous peoples or Native Americans old test warrior. I think in all civilizations they probably had it for the young warriors, but to get as close to your enemy as you can, able to kill it but not, and perhaps to get a souvenir like King David and the cut of cloth from the robe of what's his face. I can't think. So that's counting coup. It means it's proving your worth as a warrior and a better warrior than your adversary. So they do that, and it may have been, if it were in fact two subjects that I caught, just teaching the young how to approach your adversary. And we are adversaries. We're far more capricious than, and far more unpredictable than the Sasquatch, if you ask me.
Mhm.
They live a very simple life, eating pure foods and breathing pure air.
Mhm.
It's kind of admirable in a way,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
for a species of human. And what other species of human are there that behave that way? Kind of admirable.
How do you think, with you spending so much time in the woods and, northern Michigan and the UP, that's pretty freaking wild. I mean, it's pretty wild.
It's as wild
Pretty,
as it ever has been
yeah.
in many
So,
parts.
how do you feel the wildlife interacts with these beings?
Um, well, that's a good question. I believe that wildlife avoid them.
Okay.
They need to eat. They're huge creations. I do believe they're flesh and blood that may have some special abilities beyond our ability to understand or comprehend. And it gets quiet often. That night of my encounter, the stare down, it was quiet. There was nothing going on. Not even the tree frogs or crickets were really going.
Huh.
If you listen to that audio, it's pretty amazing. I included some of that in my documentary sample that I sent to you, Sarah. Uh, you can look at that, and it's quiet. It's really quiet.
She
So,
looks like she might have frozen, but I have a question for you. Um,
the
is
migration.
there any evidence that they migrate?
Not to my knowledge. My thinking is that they're regionally nomadic, um, if they migrated, I would not have discerned such differences in vocal modalities from the southern Michigan wallows that I've bugged to the northern Michigan wallows that I've bugged in other experiences. So I think they're regionally nomadic, and I believe that in short distances from southern Michigan to northern Michigan, you can find regional dialect differences. And
Oh,
there aren't just a few of these things out there. This is an entire civilization of giant humans that live in harmony for the most part, right outside our neighborhoods, right in our own backyards in some cases.
because I've heard some cases where people are talking about some of them like living in swampland and stuff. Are that the same
Yeah, they
type
like the
of?
swamps.
Okay.
We don't go there. We
Yeah.
don't spend any time there. Not really. They like the swamps, and maybe that their skin is oily. They may grow an underlayer of fur or hair. I have no idea. But their skin is very oily, and if you're gonna swim the the channel or the England to Belgium or whatever. Um, the North Channel, is that what it is? Anyway, you grease up. That helps with buoyancy, but it also helps with maintaining heat. The Sasquatch skin have very oily skin, and
Huh.
living in the swamps is no big deal to them.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah. You just
Yeah.
took a break.
I don't know what happened. It's not my fault, everybody. I
It
I
happened.
no longer don't. I have zero controls anymore. So that was all internet, I think. Um.
Mm.
So that, I mean, we're getting close here to the 10-minute mark. But so you have this Michigan Aboriginal Project. What is your hopes for this project that you're doing? Like,
Well, thank
you've
you.
got these great products. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, guys. Go check out his website. Seriously,
Yeah.
there's some cool stuff. T-shirts, hoodies. I mean, you have like all stickers. I think you have mugs. You have like all sorts of fun
Yeah,
things.
well, anything that feeds my creative side. I've always got to keep my brain going on some level. My left-right brain balance is probably a case study, but um, yeah, I love it. God's given me certain gifts, and you know, I, and I think that has had a role in this journey. So anyway, like I said earlier, I prayed on this thing.
So what is
But
it that?
where do I want to go?
Yeah,
It's
what do you want
important
to
to
do
me.
with
So
this?
I have no idea, no, and that's not true. But the dreamer in me, this is me, and formerly atheist. I'm thoroughly Christian. I love Jesus, and I'm not a Bible thumping proselytizer, but I could be, right? But I hope to, in a way, I am in this light that I hope in today's society, it's weird, it's wild, It's mind-boggling. It's upside down. Everybody would agree that. Hi, Ruby is trying to get my attention. 10 more minutes, sweetheart. My needy dogs.
That could be 10 hours to that dog. They don't
Yeah,
know.
right. So anyway, in today's society, young men are increasingly marginalized. And if you look at these suicide rates of young men, especially, they're off the charts. It's not being talked about. It's not very popular in the news media. But look into it. It's disgusting and it breaks my heart. I'm someone that has a history of depression, and I'm no stranger to suicidal ideation. I've been there, and that's the dark valley. We're not meant to be there in this lifetime. We're meant to be happy while we're here. We're meant to have, to. Hi, Ruby. Can you hear her? A little bit. Just hold on, sweetheart. Anyway, it breaks my heart, and I hope to inspire young men to get out of their basements, away from their consoles, into the woods. Realize that the biblical tales of giants is absolutely true, and I have plenty of audio evidence to plausibly convince a lot of people. Hi, sweetie, and I just want to inspire young men to be young men, to realize that there's a greater there are things greater out there that are amazing. They're I'm full of awe and wonder. I feel like a little kid in the woods again. It's an amazing feeling. God is real, not just my opinion, but this is what I've come to realize, and so is Bigfoot. These two amazing things. These Bigfoot are, I believe, these Zamzumim people. This is my current thinking. I could be wrong, but bottom line is there are giants in the woods, and there's a famous one of my favorites chapters and verse are Jeremiah 33:3, where the Lord says, "Come to me, and I will show you great and hidden things that you have not known." And I came to Him. I opened my heart, and I went to the woods and discovered things that are beyond most people's capacity to really consider as being true. But they are true. I've gone through that process. I've risked relationships, and it was somewhat of a calling, much like my art journey. That was a calling, and that saved my life early on, and that helped me realize that there is someone looking after me, no matter how painful life can be. It's really worth living, and if I could reach any young man to get out in the woods and realize that he has but one Father, one heavenly Father that looks after you if you choose to give in and let that resonate within your heart. There's a great peace out there, and this great awe and wonder, and it's out there. It's just out there. You can go to Southfield and experience everything that I have.
Yeah. Although I'm not going to lie, I don't really think of Southfield as peaceful. Not like going up north.
No. But there are little enclaves, little greenways, and the Rouge River's there. And if you really go off path, right, there are some really beautiful and Eden-like places all throughout the Metro Detroit. And just go on Google Earth and look at the greenest places there.
Yeah.
It's likely an established park or adjacent to a school or a golf course. Go hike, go off trail, and discover the awe and wonder of this amazing world we live in.
So Belle Isle, that probably does not have any Sasquatch activity, or do you think Belle Isle could?
Not necessarily. There is a fellow, I haven't been there looking, but there are others that have and have documented structure that the Sasquatch are known to make. Okay. I have a theory that they're on Pesh Island, just across the river. I can't wait till the border patrol are more lenient, so I can paddle over there in my kayak, and go exploring a little bit. You got to keep moving. If you rest, you rust. Yeah. And if you think there's nothing more out there that's just amazing in your life, then you need to take a little chill pill and step back, see the forest for the trees, and think otherwise, because there's great adventure and amazing awe and wonder just in our own neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
I don't know, James, you make it sound, between your soothing voice
Oh, thank you.
and your beautiful words and your experiences, although you were freaked out here and there, I don't know. I feel like I could actually, I'm not saying I will. I'm just saying that I possibly would spend a little time in the woods. And
It's intriguing. Yeah.
it is intriguing. And
It's an amazing thing. And I'm just now being between jobs as I am, entertaining the thought of doing little, daytime expeditions, that kind of stuff. I gotta make ends meet somehow. So
hey, maybe we'll do like a little Paranormally Blonde live
adventure. Then I can come along
right
with the video.
That's right. Let's set something up. Well, guys, I hope everybody, please, there's my sister, Mini Adventure. You need to get back here, Michelle. I know we're like praying for the borders to open. Come on, Canada. Like, really? Like, come on. Like, so she can jump across from Buffalo and I could, jump across from Detroit. So check out his website, please. Michigan Aboriginal Project. And YouTube. Like, honestly, you guys, it is really cool. James, I am so glad that I noticed that dad swap.
I don't get to talk about this at home too often, so this is awesome. Are you kidding
This
me?
was great. I love knowing that there's another one of me in the community that openly, I know you said you're, we kind of made the joke, you're out of the closet now with this, so here we go.
Hey,
but
locally, people can buy stickers at Lou's Pet Shop, Buscemi's in Grosse Pointe Park, Fairfax Market, and at Notre Dame Pharmacy.
See, I got to go get some more. I got to slap them on the Jeep and make sure that I've got, and again, a t-shirt or a hoodie. I don't know which way to go. Hoodie, because I can wear those almost year round here in Michigan.
Buy them all.
Probably, right? Buy them all. That's the problem, James. Sometimes I don't know when to cut it off. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this Bigfoot discussion, because this is really, it was different for me. This was a very different conversation than we've had in the past. Doesn't make the other ones bad or not good. It was different. And I think that is, it's all very interesting. And I really like your take on this. I like everything that you really had to say about it. And it to me, it put it in a different light. I don't know about you, Dee Dee. I don't know if you felt like.
No, I was very intrigued by those recordings, and I'm going to go back and listen to them again because it kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is mind blowing. It is paradigm shifting. It is worldview altering.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And it is. My mind is still blown. And sometimes I wake up thinking, is this a dream?
Yeah.
Or, it is. It's bizarre. It's a huge pill to swallow. Huge.
Well, listen, whenever you want to swallow that pill, you keep coming doing that right here on Paranormally Blonde. We'll talk about it. I think everybody loved it.
I'm grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. So next week, guys, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We have the demonologist coming on. So it'll be a little bit different topic, but you know what? We got to hear it all. I think that's really always the intriguing part. Oh, hey, there's Dee Dee. So let's get back together next Monday. We are running out of time, but next Monday, 7 p.m. live, as always, right here on the X, your new mainstream. And guys, thank you so much for your questions. Great questions, great comments. And we'll check you next week.